Before we get started, folks, make sure you hit the pause button. Okay, go down below. There's a Rumble link. Go over to Rumble and follow us over there. QFS1776.com is, without question, the holy grail of what's to come. Okay, T-shirts. You got to get yourself decorated. This way people will ask you, what is XRP? What is the quantum financial system? What is this? What is that? And you send them where? To QFS1776.com, where they need to immerse themselves, because we're going to burn down this system down to the ground. And out of the ashes will rise the phoenix. There'll be nothing to go back to. Believe me when I tell you that. Also, our Telegram groups down below. If you want to learn what's coming and you're sort of a little scared, I understand. Believe me, I was there too at one point. And if you need more than $10,000 worth of XRP or $1 million worth of XRP, you come see me. Send me an email at QFS1776@gmail, and we'll get you as much as you want. Gold and silver. Welcome to CarminesGold.com. Don't waste not even a second looking. Cheaper prices just don't exist. How important is it for you to own gold and silver right now? What does it mean to me personally? There's an economy that's about to crash beyond what words can explain. In 5 words, I'm going to educate you on gold and silver. Are you ready? You need to own some. Simple.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Elisa Valentino, better known as Elisa V, the Queen of High Vibe from my podcast, The High Vibe Show. And today I have the honor of sitting in for Mel Carmine. Going forward, I'll be joining you as co-host to bring you insightful discussions on some of the most intriguing topics of our time, including the upcoming Quantum Summit, the quantum financial system, and quantum health. Now, without further delay, let me begin the conversation. I'm thrilled to introduce our guest today, Zester, crypto pro from the Crazy Cryptonaut channel and his new channel with Mark Z called Liberty on Main Street. Welcome, Zester.
Well, thank you so much for allowing me to be here, Lisa. And I'm very excited to get to be on the first show that you're hosting for Mel Carmine. That's definitely exciting. We've got to set things off on a strong path.
Yes. It's an honor for me to be here today and have you as my first guest. So let's start with, from what I've heard and what I've seen, it seems like it's been a little bit of a crazy week in the crypto world, especially in light of the outcome of the election on Tuesday. Did you want to speak to that a little bit and what you've been observing?
Absolutely, Lisa. That is what's on the top of everyone's mind at the moment. Bitcoin sitting over 76,000, new all-time highs, and most of the rest of the cryptocurrencies, the Ethereum, the XRP, seem as if they're headed on the same trajectory. And so the Trump win ended up being a huge boon to crypto, because he's planning on actually placing into effect regulations and getting the SEC out of crypto's way, which for XRP holders has got to be extremely exciting, considering the SEC has not left XRP alone for, the past 7 or 8 years. So very, very exciting all around. And a lot of people are just pointing to the fact that Trump is so pro-crypto.
Yeah. And, I know just personally, and of course, I'll get a little more into that. I know even for myself here in New York, you weren't even able to purchase XRP. There was all kinds of issues for a while. So I guess anybody who has invested is really looking forward to a lot of these changes and, deregulation and all of the things that come with being able to freely purchase and invest in these assets, right?
Oh, yeah. We've been operating in a legal gray area since forever when it comes to crypto in the United States. And that leads to a lot of hesitancy. It makes accessibility for the average American, the average person, very, very difficult, because we don't really even know what information we need to be tracking on everyone. It's been a convoluted system. And so this is a huge deal for so many in the space that have either been, we've been kind of being held back by something outside of our control. The industry can't control what the SEC was just going to randomly make up at any point in time. And so I'm expecting 4 years of a pretty massive cryptocurrency boom. But of course, that is in no way investment advice.
Right.
Just my opinion.
Yeah, and of course, this whole show, we're not giving advice. We're just getting into a discussion to see if we could give people that are, watching it some different insights and, kind of stimulate some thinking about these topics, right? So, my expertise is as a life transition and a divorce coach and a podcaster. And, I myself, I consider myself fairly intelligent. And I actually felt very intimidated by the whole crypto world. Right. And I know just from our own private conversations, you helped me. You did such an amazing job for me to have a better understanding of how to navigate this world. So I think for some, it could be very overwhelming. And as you know, and as we know, Mel's audience is quite knowledgeable and experienced in this area. But, I'm thinking now as we're sort of moving along, there's always going to be newbies and people who want to understand more, or maybe have been intimidated, or they just didn't have their radar set on the crypto world. So I thought maybe today what we could do is we could just explain a little bit about how this whole crypto world works, and actually define a little bit what it's about, and maybe let people that are new to this have a little bit more of a comfort level. So I'm going to ask you kind of a loaded question, but can you give a short description of what crypto is, how it works, where it comes from, and why it's so important to the financial world as we move forward?
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely, we're going to be here for a while, Elisa, but to kind of get it into a simplified form, what a cryptocurrency is it's a digital ledger that is being operated on a variety of different computers. And so what that ledger is the same type of ledger that you would have, the accounting books would have at your business, the same one you would keep, say, in the house to keep up with your bills, things of that nature. It's just a ledger, but that ledger is decentralized and it's encrypted cryptographically. And that means it's extremely secure, and it allows for the digital transaction of wealth in a variety of different forms. And that's just a very simple, very, very simple way of looking at it. Beyond that, and the reason it's so important going into the future is because it allows for the tokenization of real world assets in a verifiable way. It allows for a world where going into the future, you and me, Elisa, can have a transaction, and we don't need to go to a bank. We don't need to go to the government. We don't need to send money through a SWIFT system or anything of that nature. You and I are capable of interacting, and the government and the central banks are not capable of printing more of the token. They're not capable of manipulating it in any form or fashion. And so that's why it's so important. It's a separation now from what we've always had, which was centralized authority, to a world where our economic system is decentralized and secure. And that's where these cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and XRP come in to become very, very important in the future, because they're all going to have different jobs, or they're all designed to have different jobs. What they have in the future, well, we'll have to wait to find out, but they're all designed to serve different needs. XRP is designed to serve the need of, say, cross-border transactions, interactions between governments, between central banks. It's designed to make the flow of money much easier. Bitcoin, in terms of what it was designed to do, it is the original crypto. It was designed in 2008 and 2009 by Satoshi Nakamoto, a pseudonym. We don't know who that actually is. We have guesses. And we have some pretty good guesses. Matter of fact, I know Mel has some really good information on that front, but it was designed and even stated to be the money of the internet. And now most folks that are big Bitcoin maximalists say that it's essentially digital gold.
Okay. Wow. That was a great overview. Very simplified and very specific to anybody who's, trying to understand this world. So here are some statistics that I found about cryptocurrency. And you tell me, what your thoughts are on this. Right now, there are over 560 million cryptocurrency users worldwide. And that's an increase of approximately 112 times since 2016. Now, this is what I found a little interesting. So of those 61%, of those, 61% are male and 39% are female. And almost 3 in 4, which is about 72%, are under 34 years old. So when I think about me, not really, coming from a perspective a few months ago of not getting it, I don't fit into any of these statistics. Like I'm a female, so I'm on the lower end of, those that are into cryptocurrency. And then, I'm much older, than that under 34. So what I thought I wanted to kind of bring across and what I was thinking about is like, if we go back, I remember my mother-in-law, maybe 20 years ago, and my dad, they had not kind of grabbed onto this idea of using their ATM card, right? They would still go to the bank and they would go to the teller and they would get their cash and do their deposits that way. And they wouldn't, they always had wads of cash because they weren't like saying, oh, I could just go to an ATM and pull out cash whenever I want. But as time went on, that's become more the mainstream, and just about everybody today, for the most part, generationally, is using ATMs and debit cards. And the reason I say that is because I want to get your thoughts on speaking to how we're kind of already living in a digital financial world, because when we think of digital assets or we think of crypto, it feels like it's so foreign, right? But in actuality, aren't we sort of already living in this very digital financial world?
Well, we really are. I think that you're definitely correct there, and that we have already been making this transition, and we've made transitions in the past that were similarly earth-shattering in terms of the economic system and how it worked. There are some hilarious videos out there of people on the news when debit cards were first coming out. There are people on the news saying people will never trust their money to a piece of plastic that they carry in their pocket. We are going to write checks in this nation for years and years and years to come. And there were so many supposedly very knowledgeable, very educated professionals, economists, bankers, and everyone else, and they now look extremely foolish. Of course, that's hindsight 2020, but it's a very similar pattern. We saw that when it came to checks in the first place. People weren't a big fan of checks. Then we move on to debit cards. People aren't a fan of those at first. And then we move on to phones being used for payment methods. And well, I remember that's me. I didn't trust it. So there's no way I'm going to put, any of these different apps on the phone at first. Well, what if somebody just scans my phone, or I accidentally scan it, or it doesn't work? Now it's considered extremely normal. And so cryptocurrency in that same way is going through that pattern of kind of initial immediate denial. We don't like new things. We don't trust new things. Then it starts to get a little bit of traction. People start to see some of the benefits. And that's when industry jumps in to make crypto and make the new form of payment accessible. And so I think that's really the phase we're in right now. We've gotten through that initial denial where we had people on the news screaming that it was a scam and that none of this was ever going to work and that it's foolish and it's a bunch of silly kids on the internet. Now we see Fortune 500 companies investing insane amounts of dollars into Bitcoin and into cryptocurrency technology. That's where we're at. They're building accessibility. And so very soon I have a feeling there are going to be a lot of folks that are going to wish they could take some of their recordings and such off of the news and off of everything, because they're going to look quite foolish as cryptocurrency continues to take over more of the financial world. And it begins to be used for so many other things, because blockchain, the technology that backs up cryptocurrencies, is going to be used for far more than just allowing you and me to buy and sell goods. It's going to be far more than that. It's going to end up being ownership over essentially everything in our lives, whether it's our house, our car, our debt, and that's just the beginning.
So when you say, our houses, our debt, you're saying that the crypto will be used at some point to pay for those, to pay the way we're used to paying in sort of this cash or credit card world? Is that what you're referring to? Well,
actually, if you think about it, how do you prove that you own your house right now?
Okay, I mean, I guess I guess you have a deed of some kind, but if you have a mortgage, it's still, the bank is still, officially the owner, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The bank owns, in the vast majority of Americans' cases, the bank owns your house.
Right.
And the bank essentially has all control at that point in time. They own your house and they can get away with quite a lot.
Yeah.
And how do they verify that it's really you? They've got your name, they've got your social security, they've got all of that information down, and they say, hey, we're the bank, trust us, Elisa has it. Well, in the future, it's not the bank. You're going to tokenize your house. Your house is going to exist on the blockchain, and it will then be yours, provably yours by absolutely everyone. No centralized bank saying, hey, Elisa owns this house, or saying, hey, Elisa owes this much on this house. It'll be secured on a ledger. And in that way, you will become the custodian of your house again, rather than the way that we have been living, where in all honesty, we don't own anything. Now, going into the future, your house will be tokenized. And in that way, we are going to cut out the vast majority of middlemen in the situation, because now no longer do we need attorneys and bankers and notaries and everything else for us to go through and do things. It's going to become something where we actually regain ownership over our property. And that's something that's never been possible in the past. You've always had to trust a third party, a centralized authority, in order to do anything in our world for the past thousands and thousands of years.
I was just reflecting on something you said, like about these people who had made comments about crypto and, they wish they could, scrub it off the internet. But, just human nature is just like we just get used to how we're doing things, and the brain is sort of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, so we just keep kind of moving along. That's why change and habit change and all those things are so difficult. But we see this every day, it's just like there's always that little bit of resistance to these kinds of things. And then when we start to see the positive nature, and clearly from the scenario that you just described, the idea of having this kind of financial freedom and financial autonomy is really such a beautiful way that we should be living. We should be able to be our own person and have control over those things that are supposedly ours. So yeah, and I think it's like if we look at even something like Uber, right? We take it out of the financial world, right? I remember saying when Uber first started, I was at a trade show somewhere and my girlfriend was like, I'm going to call an Uber. And I was like, we're going to get in a car with just a stranger. And she's like,
some random person?
She's like, but that's kind of what we do when we get in a cab. I'm like, yeah, but he's bonded and he's and I'm going through all this because I'm used to it. And now I can't imagine, right, not using Uber, and so I think it just sometimes takes time, and people like you and Mel that are educating and making these things more mainstream for a better understanding of how it works eases some of that, that stress about the newness, if they're not already involved in it. So, all right. So we hear these certain words, right? Like in the crypto space, like tokens and blockchains and mining, and like, you already spoke a little bit about the blockchain, but can you demystify some of these? Because like any new industry or area, there's always going to be words and vocabulary that goes with it, that when people can master that understanding, they feel more empowered about, all these things that it means. Are there certain words or vocabulary or meanings that are specific to the crypto world?
Oh, they absolutely are. And that's a great question, Elisa, because I know a lot of the terms throw people off.
Yeah.
Before I jump to that one, though, I'm going to go ahead and cover my own butt, because most likely there are going to be videos and recordings of me talking about the different applications that are going to end up being incorrect at some point in time, because we know where we're going, but we do not necessarily know how many turns, left, right, U-turns, 360s that this journey is going to go on until we reach our destination. So, but with that stated, because I just thought about it, I was like, you know what? Who knows how many different ways it'll be manipulated back and forth before we get there. But
Yeah,
when it
even
comes
in
to
the
these
next year,
terms.
things
Mhm.
can significantly change. So what we're speaking about is really kind of like a little bit more about where it is today and
Yes. Yep.
open to the idea that there could be lots of shifts and changes and additions and
Mhm.
subtractions from this whole picture.
No, absolutely. But it's a great question on a lot of the terminology because I think that may be one of the parts that really make that learning curve so intimidating at first
Yes.
because the words are complicated and the definitions are very technical. Even when I talk about, the definition or a explanation of what a blockchain is, a decentralized digital ledger that's cryptographically protected, that's a whole bunch of gobbledygook at first.
Yes.
It takes doing a lot of deep dive and research to finally figure out what that really means. But
I
to
was so
kind of answer some of the
intimidated by
ones,
it. I remember I came to you, I was asking you words. I'm like, what is this? And what is that? And why do I? And so that's why I figured,
Mhm.
if I feel that way, obviously not the experts that watch Mel and follow him, but for some of the newbies coming along, I want to kind of demystify that for them because
Mhm.
you don't want something like that to hold you back from,
Yeah.
or feel so intimidated that you're like, forget it. I can't
Mhm.
absorb all this.
Oh yeah, yeah. Too intimidated to even start the learning
Yes.
process. Absolutely. And so one of the first ones that's important to keep in mind is blockchain is the technology that backs up cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency just kind of became the internet term for it. But blockchain is the technology that backs up all of these different cryptocurrencies, whether it's XRP or Ethereum or Bitcoin, they're all backed up by a blockchain. Those blockchains operate in different ways, but they're essentially the same technology. And so, moving towards what is a token or a coin, because I hear this one a lot, and this is one that is like a pet peeve of many people in the crypto industry. A coin is the native asset of a blockchain. And so, Bitcoin is a coin because you need Bitcoin in order to do anything on the Bitcoin blockchain. I need Bitcoin to even send Bitcoin. That's how I even pay the very small transaction fees. And that makes it a coin. Now, Ethereum. Ethereum is a coin because it's the native asset of the Ethereum blockchain. But Chainlink or Shiba Inu, the meme coin everyone knows about, they say meme coin, but really it's a token. It is built on the Ethereum blockchain. I need Ethereum to send Shiba. I can't just have Shiba and be able to do anything with it. And so, in that way, I often explain the difference between a coin and a token as a reference to my childhood. Chuck E. Cheese. Do you remember Chuck E.
Oh
Cheese's? I
yeah.
don't. I don't think there's any more of them.
There's actually one over here in New York on Long
Oh,
Island, believe
really?
it or not. Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. Well, with Chuck E. Cheese, I go in, or you go in, you take dollars, and you hand them dollars, and they give you back Chuck E. Cheese tokens.
Yes.
Those Chuck E. Cheese tokens are only good at Chuck E. Cheese. I can't take my Chuck E. Cheese tokens and go to Dave and Buster's and then let me play the games. It's not going to work. And in that way, that is kind of a similar idea of what a token is. It is something that's built on top of the blockchain, like Ethereum in this case, but it is more designed for a specific use. It is more concentrated in terms of what it's supposed to be used for. And in that way, when people are kind of speculating on tokens, they're speculating on the importance of that specific industry in terms of where it's going. And
Oh, excuse me. Is it fair to say that each crypto, whether it be Bitcoin or Ethereum, has its own specific tokens?
well, some are unique. And so